Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, today we're going to be talking about this guy. That's right, Masacre is one of the 4 champions that got a slight buff this month, and I decided to start these buff review series. Well, the 4 champions, I will revisit all of them in a separate video, but I'm going to start off with Masacre for 2 quite simple reasons. Number 1, I was already probably the most familiar with him before the buff because I genuinely enjoyed using the champion. I used him in previous set of Cavalier difficulty quests where I utterly and thoroughly enjoyed playing with him. And I actually did end up using him for some stuff in Act 7 as well, because I do have him as a 6-star rank 2. And overall, I thought of him as a quite good underrated champion. But as soon as I read the changes to the champion, I thought that ultimately these will likely be most impactful for a large group of players. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Masacre is the best champion coming out of this, and he probably isn't. Angela definitely has higher ceiling potential. However, in order for that ceiling to be unlocked with Angela, you do want her awakened and relatively high sig. And especially when it comes to 6 stars, that is quite often no easy feat to achieve. However, Masacre is very good unduped, and his dupe just kind of helps him get where he's going a bit faster. But I realized that after the buff, it is actually even less important than ever for that dupe ability to be active, because now he has absolutely no problem igniting the bat. And that is also the biggest change here. Now, Masacre hasn't changed at all in terms of what he does or how he does it. What has changed on Masacre, however, is how easy it is to do it. Before, there was always a certain aspect of, well, I'm not going to say risk, but every fight that you started using this champion, there was a little bit of uncertainty whether you're going to be able to ignite that bat quickly, whether AI is going to work. And all of those worries have gone out of the window. So if you are somebody who previously maybe not necessarily enjoyed using this champion because you thought it's kind of annoying and hard to get his bat ignited and get his stuff going, then you should definitely give another chance to this champion, because freaking awesome, and igniting his bat is freaking easy. And before we get to the gameplay, I wanted to show his signature ability, because I will be using my 6-star rank 2 instead of my 5-star rank 4 in all of these videos, and my 6-star does not have his sig ability active. Now, what does it do now is basically, if opponent has no incinerate buffs active, no incinerate debuffs, you gain combat power rate, which is very, very important, because that lets you get quicker to your level 1 and potentially shoot it off before you actually get opponent incinerated, thus extending the duration of your disorient. And in addition, you get critical rating, and that means you're going to be critting a lot more, and that is very important to get your bat ignited. However, Masacre also enjoys increased duration for his ignite passives. That means you have a lot longer to get the bat ignited, and he also has his base crit rating increased, which means he naturally crits more than he previously did. Right, so first we're going to start off with Realm of Legends here. We're going to have a bit of a damage showcase, and I'm going to be using 2 different rotations, where actually it kind of surprised me which one is quicker and more effective, because I always liked using Masacre with level 1 rotation a bit more, and that also kind of meant that he might not necessarily be overly suicide mastery friendly, because any champion which requires you to spam level 1 suffers a lot of recall damage, and it's just not a great time overall. However, the damage is still there. We can see that he's ticking for well over 2000 for vast majority of the fight. We're going to be managing to maintain quite significant amount of incinerates, and even when we don't, it doesn't take long for us to get the battery ignited and for the incinerates to reappear. Now, ultimately, Winter Soldier is not quite perfect champion to go up against when using Masacre, because of his long animation special attacks. They are quite annoying. And one of the best things about using Masacre is if you can have a very, very fast-paced tempo fight, which I'm going to showcase a bit later in the video. But here we can see that for a 6-star rank 2, no boosts, that Winter Soldier is melting quite well. Damage output has gone up slightly, but there hasn't been a huge increase. He has always pretty much been able to do this, but again, now it's just a lot easier, and now it's just something that happens in the background, and you don't have to focus nearly as much on actually like getting the bat ignited, because you can just hit the opponent. You're gonna have more than enough time to ignite your bat if you don't try to strike opponent's block. And that automatically makes him a lot easier to use, where I'm gonna showcase that in Act 6 fights. Quite often I'm just gonna go and start hitting the opponent without looking for an opening to their block, and that will be good enough. Now here we can see that 89 hits is all that it takes. I let the damage over time effects kind of like finish the job there. So it was 89 hits against Winter Soldier. And if you think that is quite decent, if you think that is quite good, that we can do better. Because now with improvements to Masacre's level 2, that might be the special that's worth going for. Because if you play aggressive, you have no problem getting about 6 to 10, 12 incinerates on the opponent in vast majority of scenarios. Here we can see another example of igniting the bat just naturally without trying to strike opponent's block. Another cool thing is that Masacre gains power when you strike opponent's block if his bat is ignited. Here we're going to go for a nice level 2 that does some solid damage. That second hit was for like 49k there. So it's a very hard hitting special in the block now. And just like that, that rotation actually brings down the opponents quicker. Now the first fight took about a minute and 50 seconds or so. Then this fight barely takes over a minute. I think it was like a minute and 15 seconds. So it is significantly quicker. The hit count also is going down. We can see another big level 2. That level 2 in total deals about, what, 80k damage there in the block. Absolutely no problem. Plus all of these damage over time effects. Absolutely amazing. Love them. That's all I'm going to say. I love them. Right. And that's it. 67, 68 hits and the fight goes down. Now, how does it compare with some champions that people do consider to be like the hardest hitting skill champions, or champions that at the very least got praised for her damage output a lot? And that would be Black Widow Deadly Origins. Now, again, keep in mind Black Widow Deadly Origins does have 7-hit combo, but her level 2 gives you less additional hits than Masacre does spamming his level 1. So it kind of evens out there. And we can see that obviously she does very good amount of damage, and she's putting in work. Now you do have to again keep an eye on to how your Widow's Insight active. And when you drop that level 2, it puts up some decently big numbers, and that Winter Soldier is going down in a solid pace as well. Now, why I chose Black Widow Deadly Origins as a champion to compare Masacre with is because I find them kind of like two halves of the same coin. As far as I look at them, they're effectively the same champion, just with the difference of aesthetics and a few abilities, and obviously the shock is exchanged for incinerate. But ultimately both of them are champions that have no immunity, have some mediocre ability accuracy reduction abilities, some not so worthwhile gimmicks, and relatively high damage output via debuffs. In one case shock, in one case incinerate. So I generally tend to look at them as pretty much exactly the same champion, just kind of like gender swapped and debuff swapped, because there is definitely a ton of similarities in between them. And it turns out that damage output is another similarity there. Now, it takes barely over 100 hits, but the fight itself lasted about minute 30. As I said before, Massacre's first fight against Winter Soldier was minute 45, and the second fight against Captain Marvel movie was about minute 15. So the damage output is very, very comparable with the both champions. And actually now with the change to Masacre, I think I find Masacre easier to use, because you don't have to constantly worry about getting those intercepts or how you finish your combos or punching heavy attacks or special attacks. You can just kind of like go all out and wail at the opponent. And here is going to be quite an interesting fight. We're going to go up against this superior Iron Man. Now, it took me a bit of a while to ignite that bat, and definitely not the perfect start. But we're going to see that Masacre goes and completely melts a whole ton of these opponents. And he is a very, very great questing champion. Now, again, when it comes to utility, he's not the most heavy, just like Black Widow, DarksoulDLX, and many other skill champions. But when it comes to the terms of enjoying the game and getting through content quickly, he's up there with some of the better champions in the game, in my opinion. That was like, we're going to see something like 20 hit Act 6 fight here, I believe, in a second. So gonna go against the Falcon. We got the Bat ignited. He has masochism. It doesn't matter too much. Let's go. Let's get those incinerates going. Very simple, very straightforward. Cheeky intercept into level 1. So that's what, 11 hits, 14 hits. He's absolutely melting at this point. We're gonna go in for like another full combo, I think, or almost. And at this point, we go for level 1, and he's dead. He's pretty much dead here at this point. 23 hits in Act 6.1, and Falcon goes down. There's no class advantage, no nothing. So you can definitely see that he's a very, very quick and fun and great questing option. Now, when people ask me where do I think he lies in skill class overall now, I don't think his position has changed much. It's just the fact that a lot more people will find it a lot easier to use him. Still think he is somewhere toward the bottom of top 10 skill champions. I think he's effectively at exactly the same place as you would place Black Widow, Deadly Origins, because I keep saying that I find them to be nearly identical gender swap champions, like two sides of the same coin, pretty much. But when it comes to personally which champion I enjoy more, I think I enjoy playing a bit more with Masacre, especially now that his maintenance is so much easier, and you can just focus completely and fully on spanking the opponents as hard as you can. Now we're gonna jump to 6.2 here, Yellowjacket. There is a quick note that I definitely have to mention, and that is, as I was recording this, I was not aware that his heavy attack has been fixed, because initially after his buff, his heavy attack was completely busted, and basically it denied you having incinerates on opponent for most part. There was some very, very weird interaction, but they did fix that. So I am not showing maybe necessarily the best playstyle for Masacre, because he has a very, very useful heavy attack that has a very huge reach, plenty of hits, and it can push opponent back against the wall and can corner them. But yeah, here is a very great example of Masacre just going in and melting champions on random nodes once again. Yellowjacket is just, well, we can see his health bar is just consistently trickling away there. Very easy, very simple, very straightforward fights. I don't want to stretch out this video too much, so I did have some more fights recorded. This one, okay, I'm going to show this one still against the Punisher. This one was quite fun because it was quite quick. Again, I'm trying to ignite my bat, and this time I'm actually trying to hit the opponent's block, which is something that you had to do previously, always. Now you can either try to hit opponent's block, or you can just go ham and hit the opponent, and you're going to get that bat ignited anyways in vast majority of the cases. And now that the bat is ignited, we can see that Punisher is completely melting away. It's like, that's like 42k Punisher. That's in Act 6.3, so these guys are no joke. Their attack is no joke, and their health pools are no joke. But it's not very hard to deal with them. We can see that we have plenty of bleeds on, plenty of incinerates, a cheeky dashback intercept. I'm gonna go into a level 1. That's his like 20% health that's left there. Just block bait, a heavy attack, go for another level 1, thanks to the Saurian debuff or whatever, and Punisher goes down. And then I had some 6.4 fights, but I'm gonna skip that, and I'm gonna skip that for this Labyrinth of Legends fight. Now I'm not gonna show the entire clip, also because this was like my first attempt and I do mess up somewhere towards the end, but there is a very good showcase of Masacre's heavy attack here, which I definitely wanted to include in this video. And he can legitimately have a playstyle that's extremely similar to Tigra to a degree, and I like that. If you like playing with Tigra, you're probably the kind of person that will like playing with Masacre. And that involves a ton of heavy spamming, and you can pretty much forego using special attacks if you want, and you can just drop your heavy attack, because that heavy attack has a massive reach, and it also drops opponents very, very far back in the map. Now there was a small mistake, because I tried to be cheeky there, get the light hit in before I went into a heavy attack to position myself better, but unfortunately that light hit connected. So we're going to sit through this special 3 animation. As you can see, obviously, I'm not still quite perfect at it. It does have to do quite a bit with distance management as well. But there are definite matchups where this just makes Masacre into a bit of a cheese lord, quite similarly, again, to Tigra. So let's try and get that Star-Lord to use his level 1. So I'm going to try and push him to 1 more bar of power, and then we can get into a proper rhythm there. So you can see that you can spam like 3 heavy attacks quite frequently in a row. There are like 4 bat hits in those heavy attacks. And yeah, you can maintain a lot of incinerates without any need to use special attacks. And it's a very satisfying way to play this character and still deal a ton of damage. So you can see that massive reach is on full display here. Star-Lord's basically cornered. And all I'm doing here is just taking advantage of the Star-Lord, really. It's very, very fun, and it also gives you a very good damage output and easy access to it from the very start of the fight, which is one of the things that I like about Masacre. And yeah, that is about it that I wanted to showcase here. You can have tons of fun with Masacre in contest, without doubt. But that is it for today's video. I hope you guys liked Masacre showcase, and as I said before, if you didn't enjoy the champion before because he might seem like a bit tricky to play, definitely give him another chance now, because I think for an average player he is the most significant change right now, because previously he was very hard to play and now he just isn't. Also, he does not need to be awakened. His SIG is a nice bonus, but is not necessary by any means, much less now than ever before. And therefore, he's a prime candidate to kind of take a look at as a 6-star, or have fun, even if you have an unduped 5-star. Ultimately, I don't think he has as high top potential as Angela does right now. But when it comes to how easy it is to access everything that he has to offer, I absolutely love this change. And yeah, I definitely recommend you guys taking a look at him and trying out to have some fun with him yourselves. But that is it for today's video, and I am going to catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about